the fact that we'll be having a very lucrative speaker this afternoon, that is Rini Ghosh madam. And I hope all the participants are enjoying and feeling happy to be associated with us. Nevertheless, I will invite Ms. Deepika to welcome our guest for the afternoon. Before that, let me introduce Deepika ma'am to you all. Madam is the assistant professor of the Spanish department, and she has been very actively involved with us since quite a few years with Amity. She has a long-standing experience of 11 years and is always in the forefront of her arranging academic activities like academic tours, especially to Spain. And of course, she is a very active member of our department and on and off and deliberating on MOUs as well. So this is a young and energetic faculty that we have, and she has roped in yet another good speaker of the same and perhaps even much more caliber. So Rini ma'am, here's we welcoming you, and Deepika
Thank
ma'am,
you so much.
please add on to her applauds.
Thank you,
Deepika.
Susan ma'am. Buenas tardes, one and all. In the 18th century, it was said that one who ruled the sea ruled the world. But in 20th century, one who rules the technology rules the world. I'm sure you all agree with this quote. And for this reason, our FDP has thought to incorporate this need-based session on e-pedagogy and ICT tools in teaching. I, Deepika Golatkar, on the behalf of Amity School of Languages AUM, am pleased to introduce our today's speaker, Rini Ghosh, who is astute professional with extensive teaching experience and high standards for creating innovative techniques in the field of technology. She is currently the Diploma Coordinator at Jamnabai Nursi International School, Mumbai. She holds a master's degree in Spanish language and literature from the University of Delhi, followed by the certification in teaching the language and the International House, Spain, and Universidad Autónoma de Madrid. She is a certified content development for E-Pathshala, the Government of India's national mission on education through ICT. She is an examiner to the International Baccalaureate for Spanish and is also associated as a faculty with Pamoja, an educational institute based in Oxford which uses the digital platforms to teach students across the globe. Rinimap has also attended some of the prestigious courses at Salamanca on the understanding culture. She is a part of Latin American authors team and has been writing short stories in Spanish for them. She is also associated with chefs from Latin American countries to discover the similarities and differences between the gastronomy and Indian cuisine. Ma'am has also worked as an interpreter at various places: Parliamentary House, New Delhi, British Motors, World LPG Forum, Spanish Trade Fair, to name a few. We're glad to have her as our speaker today. Having introduced Rini ma'am, I would now like to request her to start her session and delight us with her knowledge. Over to you, ma'am.
A very good afternoon to one and all. A very big thank you to Miss Susan and Miss Deepika. Muchas gracias por presentarme. So, and a very good evening and a good afternoon to all the wonderful speakers, all the wonderful listeners who are here with me. Because please remember, any of these FDPs are not only that you are going to learn from me, but they also involves a lot of learning from each one of you. So, we can say sharing. So, let me get back and introduce you to what we are going to look at. So, the focus of our workshop is today going to be understanding the ICT tools, but primarily also taking a look back onto what is it that has changed in this COVID pandemic. The pedagogy and the word which we have been associated with that is now called E-Pedagogy. So, what is it that E-Pedagogy does? Now, the objective here, as I was telling you, is going to be about understanding the effective teaching, effective assessment in the new normal using ICT tools. But before we proceed, let us understand what do we mean by E-pedagogy. So the moment we talk about e-pedagogy, it is something about design thinking. It is something to do with learning design, quality education, values, and effectiveness of teaching, learning, and assessment activities which are supported by technology. We were all saluting the doctors as frontline workers, nurses, but people probably forgot to acknowledge us as teachers who overnight transformed ourselves into genies and ensuring that education or learning for each of the student doesn't stop. So what did we do? Yes, it was a big challenge for us teaching where we have been interacting with our students face to face over years, and that was the kind of a pedagogy we were using in a very confined, in a very, sometimes I would say also an objective oriented, but suddenly we were asked that we need to teach online. Okay, we need to assess students online, we need to take onus of what the students have learned online, and that all was completely a big change for each one of us. So let us understand what is it that the current issue or the problem that we are all facing world over. And if I take specific example from the Indian education system. So traditionally, we've been used to doing rote learning. We have a fixed, we've been given a fixed syllabus. We've been mugging it up. We've been rote learning. And here, whatever I'm saying, I'm not criticizing it because rote learning is also a skill. But the question is, to what extent should we rote learn? Should we rote learn without understanding? Should we be able to rote learn without being able to apply? The second was our evaluation system. You know, sometimes students do come back and say that if you go over the 5 years or the 10 years of past papers, you can easily crack this examination. But the question is, what has happened 10 years back? Do you think there is a relevance of that content in the upcoming next 10 years? Certainly not. So what is it that needs to change? That means the evaluation, effective evaluation, application based evaluation, because we understand that one size doesn't fit all. So that is another change that we are going to look out for in this today's session when we talk about e-pedagogy. Equal respect to all subjects and all streams. Traditionally, we have been used to give a lot of more importance to the STEM education, but we have not given importance to the humanities based education.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am.
Yeah,
Are we going to the next slide?
I will go. I
Okay.
have a control. I have a control over it. Yeah. So what is it that has happened? Equal respect for all the streams or all the subjects have not been well executed in the society, in the education system. Because please understand, while we are learning STEM, it is equally important to understand human psychology. It is important to understand, critically think. It is important to understand the society in which we are living. The fourth one is training of educators. I must thank Amity for organizing this workshop for all the faculty members. But think about what is it that is happening with several BMC schools around our city, the university, the private college, some of the government colleges. Do you think this kind of an investment or interest they are taking in? So then what happens to those students? What happens to those educators? Introduction to technology. How many schools, how many universities, how many colleges, etc., are privileged to be able to give their students learning through technology? And finally, personalizing education. How can we personalize education? How can we understand that this is what, if a student is going to learn, is going to help him in the long run? And finally, apart from covering everything in the syllabus, what is equally required is to understand, to teach them with the purpose. There has to be some element of giving back to the society. There has to be some element of humanity. There has to be an element of emotional intelligence. because when you are creating individuals, it is not only about just doing a couple of questions, clearing a couple of examinations, but also understanding the purpose. Why? How will I use? How will I give it back to the society? How is it going to do? So understanding the chain reaction. But before I go back, let me introduce you to a very interesting tool called Mentimeter. So can I request all the ones who are here with me today to please log on to the website called menti.com and put in this code. So let me go on to menti.com from here and put in this code. Let me refresh the code once more for all of you. So this is the code which you can see. It is 47736360 is the Menti code. Mentimeter is a tool and we will understand how, when, why, and where we should be using this. So can you all open menti.com? It's a Google application, very easy to use, can be used to catch the interest and attention of all the students. Now what I have done over here is I have given you 2 questions. And as in when you start answering those questions, the charts will start populating on its own. If you have not yet got the code, I'm repeating, it is 47736360. Okay, so let us see what does Menti do for us today. Have you been able to access? Have you been able to get the quiz? Miss Deepika, have you all been able to get the quiz?
Yes,
Can you
Yes.
give the code once more, ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So can you all start filling in up the answers over there?
Can we get the code once more, ma'am?
Yeah, I am going to repeat the code. The code is 477 36360. It's called menti.com.
477360.
Yes, exactly.
Ma'am, there seems to be an error with the code.
Uh, okay,
Yeah,
please
ma'am.
use this code 96406431. Let me just change over here. Maybe when I
In the
was,
chat box.
yeah, let me, yeah, it's 96406431.
9640.
6431. Can you see my screen where I'm sharing menti.com?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you? Yeah. Can you start filling in up your answers and you will see automatically it getting populated over
Yes.
here. There are 2 questions.
Ma'am, it says the question is not open for voting.
It's booting, still booting. Yeah. See the code, it's coming.
Ma'am, actually it says the question is not open for voting.
Just a second. Let me just get it back because it was opening with me. Give me 1 minute to see. Yes, I think Miss Prajakta is there, but just a second.
Sure, ma'am.
Just a second. Let me just check what it is because it should work.
Yes.
Menti.com. It's open. It's open for everyone.
No, ma'am, not yet.
Mm,
Ma'am, you'll have to allow that option.
just a second. It's. Uh, mm, yes, it's
Uh,
opened. Just see, it's opened
yes,
from my
ma'am, it is
end.
working now.
yes, ma'am.
Mm, mm. Okay, let me just share back my screen. So I have Menti with us here to understand what is it happening. Yeah. Yes, great. So I can see some answers are already flocking in with Menti. Yeah. Mm, yeah. Just a second. What is it happening? Yes, I can see that does online assessment reflect the true learning? So there are people who are saying 7 people feel that no, 10 people are saying it is yes, 25 people are saying it is maybe. So what is it that we can use this Menti tool for? Anybody can tell me? Yes, there is a second question to that also. On the second slide, there is one more question. Can you try looking at that question? I'm unable to share my screen, IT. It is not allowing me. Can you just check? Can you just check if there is something?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Can you check? Yeah. Are you able to see my screen now? Yes.
Not yet, ma'am.
Why I'm sure.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Now we can see.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So can you see? Now, can anybody tell me on the chat, or if you wish to unmute yourself, when can I use this tool? Anybody who wishes to tell me? In an online, you have to constantly engage your students. So when do you think Mentimeter can be used? It's a free Google tool. You can create nth number of presentations, different kind of pie charts, different kind of charts to run this and engage your students before you begin with teaching of a concrete lesson. So this is a tool which can be used when you want to have a better understanding, pre-knowledge checking of students, understanding what do they really know, or even sometimes before beginning the next lesson, if you wish to reflect on what did they learn in their previous lessons, you can use this app called menti.com, and all you need to do is just give your students a code. Like I shared a code with all of you. Students, you will require to give a code, and with the code, the students will be able to join. There is a second question to it. Will you be able to look at the second question? Can you look at the second question? I've put another second question over there, which you can look at. There's a second question to this presentation. Can you please look onto that second question? I'm again going back with the same code. Okay. Let us look at the second question over here. And my second question is asking all of you to do this following. Code remains the same. Yeah. Now this is the second question, which says, does online assessment reflect the true learning? Can you all try filling up the question here? Yeah. Yes, I can see 75 people who have been giving their answers. And as you can see over here, that this Mentimeter tool actually allows you to create different kind of quizzes for your students. You can leave this quiz even at the end of the class. You have different kind of presentations which you can create. There is a free version and there is a paid version. So if you want to upgrade yourself to the paid version, then you will be able to get different kind of slides. And creating a presentation on Menti is extremely easy. All you need to do is create a new presentation. So say I write this, create a new presentation, and you will have to just populate questions onto them. And with the code, you are able to share it with your students. Yeah, so I'm sharing it with you to show you how does this Menti app work. It's extremely beneficial. Students love it, irrespective of the age. You can also use it as an assessment tool if you want some kind of you can create a word cloud. So suppose if you're teaching language classes and you put a picture over here and you tell them write 6 adjectives to describe this personality, everybody is going to type words, and at the end a word cloud is created which can be shared with your students, and everybody is also going to learn from each other. To refresh a couple of basic concepts, etc., you can happily go on to menti.com. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed understanding on Menti. Now, after that, I would like to take you all to the next topic, wherein I am trying to look at COVID-19 and education, time for a change. So what is it? What was the old way? And what is the new way? So as you saw that when I began this session, I started talking about that the rote learning, the evaluation system, everything. But what is it that the core thing has changed? The core that has actually changed is the way we are going to teach. The core that has changed is what are we going to teach. The thing that has changed is also what kind of tools are we going to use to ensure that every student in our class is learning at the same pace. I will repeat my statement when I said that one size doesn't fit all, which means I need to use different kind of tools, but not only tools, there has to be a clear objective as to what is this particular ICT tool going to be used for and how is it going to help in the learning curve of my student. So the old way, they had a textbook. Yes, now there are e-textbooks, there are e-books. I'm sure you all are giving those kind of e-books to your students. Apart from that, there is a lot of cross-reference reading which can be done. Similarly, if you're expecting your students to submit any kind of an assignment, please ensure that they use an app called Easy Bib or a plagiarism checker, which can be embedded in your assignment section. You can get that software. That software is a paid software which you buy. It's called Turn It In. And what it happens is any assignment has to go through that. So when it goes through that, it can easily show you whether the student has actually copied from anywhere or not, or if two students have the same assignment, or the student has copied entirely from the internet and you are unable to figure it out whether that is an original assignment or not. So that's the huge change that has happened. We have moved from textbook to referencing. We have moved from the way we were doing assessment. We have moved in a class of, say, if you have got 45 students, how do you engage them online, which was little bit of easy when we were doing it on a face-to-face. And of course, in a society or as human beings, we all have different characteristics. There could be some students who are very proactive in your class, but there could be some of them who are not that proactive in your class. And how do you understand? What do you understand that they are going to learn? So let us look at this when we are talking about what to teach, how to teach, where and when to teach. And what I have done is I have referenced here one beautiful article which comes from Springer. Springer is one of the publishers which publishes a lot of foreign books. Also, they have a publication in India wherein they have talked about the kind of changes that is going to be expected. So what is it that the change as educators we require? We are in a situation of crisis. So how do we manage this crisis, but at the same time deliver an effective teaching and learning? What kind of a research can be actually given to the students? What is the curriculum that I need to teach? The other day I was reading one of the articles on Economic Forum, and trust me, it was really upsetting for me when it said that 80% of the engineers or the MBA graduates are becoming unemployable due to the lack of artificial intelligence, due to the lack of application-based learning in comparison to China and the United States. So they are saying that in the United States or in China, even basic, a simple graduate student or a high school student is able to code, and that probably is the latest requirement of the 21st century. So, and there has to be an element of artificial intelligence, application based learning. So why is it that is not coming in, and what is it that we need to relook at? It's time for us to restructure. It's time for us to unpack and repack everything so that what we are teaching is relevant for them. I mean, a very simple thing, I would put an example. Suppose I am a French speaking student. I'm learning to speak in French. I have learned my grammar very well. I can clear my examinations. But the moment I land up in a French speaking country, I am just not able to connect myself. One, because I have no understanding of the culture. I have no understanding of the stipulated behavior. I have no understanding of how people deal with their everyday, day-to-day life. Then what good does that learning of French or German or Chinese or Spanish help me with? If I am not assimilating cultural understanding, if I am not assimilating what is happening on a day-to-day basis in that country, then for me, merely getting a certificate is not going to serve for anything. So that is the big change that you need to see. If you're teaching economics, please ensure that your students are also reading economic times in the class. They're understanding the global changes that is happening. They're understanding where is the world economy going. They're able to interpret the graphs. They're able to probably even publish a research paper under your guidance. Then you know that the student has really learned and will be able to execute their learning effectively when they tomorrow land up in the job market, or even if they want to further go for higher studies using economics. So I was talking about what was that change. So when I talk about teaching in the new normal, and I would within quotes say new normal, because this is probably, but we don't know. Change is the only constant thing. Maybe 5 years after the pandemic, there would be another kind of a change. We are already hearing about hybrid learning, online learning, virtual learning. So we don't know what changes are coming. We also do not know what are the kind of jobs that they are going to come in the year 2050. But what is there in our hand is that we can teach using relevant methodologies. We can teach a relevant curriculum. We should be able to foster open-mindedness, international mindedness. We should be able to help them take that decision making. That should be a skill which should be embraced or imbibed at the back of their minds. So when I say teach with an inquiry, rather than saying write an email to your friend about last vacation, why can't we change? Did you know that people in Germany during their summer vacations do this? Imagine recently you visited Germany to spend some time with a German family. Now write that experience. So the student is going to really think about it. Okay, my visit to that family, what did I do? Whom did I stay with? What kind of a learning? What were the kind of different activities? Focus on the bigger idea, the bigger picture, conceptual understanding. Rather than giving them a mathematics problem to solve, rather than give them a problem in which they have to apply mathematics. For example, if I look at, because of this COVID-19, suddenly there was a crisis with the pathological labs where, we were all running to get our RT-PCR tests, etc. In mathematics, if we look at the exponential growth of or profit of pharma companies or pathological labs during COVID-19, that probably would be an interesting research that a student would be able to undertake to be able to understand. Yes, so what are the, and then you can divide them into different kind of groups, talking about different age group, talking about the location of the lab, talking about the nature of the test. So the student will actually start collecting data and then later produce it as a piece of research. Develop local and global context. As I was telling you, while you are teaching about India, at the same time you need to open up and take case studies from different parts of the world. There was an article today which is talking about that the Indian IT people are in big demand in countries like Finland, etc., because they want them to also embed a lot of artificial intelligence. So while you're teaching them about what is happening in India, you need to also talk to them about in various subjects. In any subject that you teach, you can always have a local and a global context. What is more important right now for everybody to learn is maintaining the teamwork and collaboration decorum. You're using Google Docs. At the same time, you know that if I write something, the X person is not going to delete that. So how do you do teamwork? Because these young individuals, young minds who are going to step into the job world, etc., are definitely going to also have to deal with these kind of, you are going to have people who from maybe from Africa, maybe from Chile, maybe from Poland, maybe from Germany. So there has to be an understanding of their culture. There has to be an understanding of the do's and the don'ts, and how do you work in a multi-dimensional team. So exchange programs are a very good way wherein we encourage such kind of an effective teamwork and collaboration. Then we talk about differentiated to meet the need of all learners. Not everybody in your class will be able to produce an individual research paper, but there could be one student in your class or five students in your class who are excellent orators. So when you are giving a teamwork assignment, you need to organize and ensure that every team has a balance of everything. Be it a person who's an excellent orator, a person who is a good listener, somebody with good tech skills, somebody who has a very good background of research, and mixing up the groups in a more effective way. And finally, when you follow all these procedures, there is of course a need to do the checks and balances. In the new COVID norm, in the new normal, I think our frequency to do assessment evaluation is more. So there is a need to constantly do a lot of formative assessments. Formative is something which you are going to do while you are teaching. So for example, what I did using Menti could be another way for you to ensure that everybody in your class is engaged in the learning, in the lesson, and ensure you can have some weightage towards those kind of assessments to ensure the complete sink in, the complete collaboration of your students. What do you need to ignite in the mind of the students? Their thinking skills. Allow them to think. Do not give a dead end question. Think. They have to do a couple of case studies when they are coming and presenting in your class. If you are, for example, if you are talking about festivals in Japan, and you have asked your students as Japanese students to do a difference between festivals in Japan, their relevance, etc. For example, in Japan, there is this phenomena of lotus feet. I'm sure some of you have already heard about it. And in this particular province in Southeast Asia, where what they are trying to do is they're trying to break the feet of young girls so that their feet doesn't grow. So they are able to fit into the shoes, like, so it's the feet is curled, so that's called lotus feet. And their feet is always curled because they believe small feet looks good. Now what is the relevance? Ask them to find out what is the history behind it. If you want them to integrate it into interdisciplinary, ask them, do you think over the generations these women, and this was exclusively done to young girls, so that that was a mark of beauty, Is it that years after years after years, there's going to be an evolution in the human body, and probably after 50 years or 100 years, do you think girls who would be born in that particular province in Southeast Asia will all have a lotus feet? That's a question to ponder over. That will allow the student to really go back and cross check, because, and in that case, no two students' answers is going to be the same, because you can expect them to put in their personal interpretation. That is another good way to ensure learning is happening, and at the same time, there is no cheating or collusion happening. Research skills, yes, but how to research? Is everything that is available on Google is to be believed on the face value? No. So as faculty members, we should be encouraging them while to research, but also to use that sieve to understand, to accept what can be done, what can be accepted, what cannot be accepted. Communication skills. That's probably one of the key elements in the 21st century. Am I able to present effectively? Am I able to connect to my audience very well? Am I able to identify the requirement of my audience while I'm speaking? Self-management. Very important, because there is nobody who's going to remind you face to face that, hey, you need to submit this assignment tomorrow at 10 a.m. But what is that self-management, time management that a person needs to do? That, okay, my assignment is to be submitted on the 10th of June. I need to start working on it from the 1st of June, depending on the nature of the assignment. I need to review that assignment. I need to do this much of research work. And before that, I need to submit it. So that's called your time management or your self-management skills over here. The social skills, extremely important, because these young minds are very soon going to open up and interact in a world which has people from across. So it's very important to understand the do's and the don'ts. If I land up in the United States with a person from Latin American, what should be my attitude? Isn't it a good idea to know a little about that country, with whom I'm going to stay, who's going to be my roommate, or who's going to be my colleague, or who's going to be my classmate at the university? Probably it's a good idea to understand the do's and the don'ts. And this is a great way to also eradicate stereotypes. I'm sure the pandemic COVID-19 has brought a lot of stereotypes about Indians to the world, or about China to the world. But that is where we need to use our judgment. That is where we need to also understand how much of an information are we going to trust. Your judicious ability to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong is going to be, or is, the moral responsibility of each one of us sitting here today to give it to our students. So you can give them articles, you can ask them to express their opinion about the country policies, about the arms and ammunition policy, or through different kind of text, through uh, different kind of posters, etc. You can use different kind of posters to provocate that kind of a thought. Let us understand the approaches to the teaching and learning. What is it that has changed? Who are we? What is our role? I'll be discussing all these, and later I will be showing you all the kind of tools. And if you look back then at my presentation, you will be able to understand why I have mentioned these, and why am I talking about the different kind of tools which can be used, which will help you arrive at this. So who are we? We need to be empowered. Yeah, we are young minds. We are teaching the students. We are preparing the generation Z. Generation X and Y, we are preparing generation Z. So what do we know? So we are now not only the teachers of learners, but we are also the teachers of the content. What is the content that we are going to deliver? We need to create clearer strategies for facilitating effective learning experiences where students are meaningfully, with their choice, more engaged, and there is constantly a critical and creative thinking happening. Rather than mugging up 10 questions on Hamlet or on Tempest, what if I ask a student to think, and if Tempest was to happen in the 21st century, how would they like to put an end, or would like to change the ending of the play? Probably that would be a relevant question. They could think about, they could do a comparison of the two societies, the Shakespearean era and the modern world now, how different it is. If I want to look at any of Gabriel Garcia Marquez's books, or even if I want to look at Maya Angelou's poems, I can probably pick up relevant examples wherein a student will be given to think, rather than why did Maya Angelou write this poem? Promote both the aims of individual subject and linking previously isolated knowledge. If I am talking about teaching a language, go back understanding the origin, go back connecting it to sociology, go back connecting it with history. You can connect sciences with that, you can connect literature with that. So a careful mind mapping, if you clearly create, you will be able to understand the link between subjects in the 21st century cannot be taught isolated. I cannot be just a Spanish teacher. I teach Spanish, but when I teach my Spanish teaching classes, the other day I was doing, I don't know if you've seen uh, Che Guevara's movie, Motorcycle Diaries, where he was a doctor, and in the final year he decided to go on a bike ride to discover the poverty and the issues that were happening in Latin America. And through that, he discovered the kind of atrocities people were going. There was a need because Spain had colonized over these countries. The indigenous people were suffering. So to understand that, automatically a student is bound to go back and read a bit of the history, read a bit of the ethnicities, the races, the tribes, and then ask them to, from the global, also connect it to the local context. Are the Adivasis or the indigenous people in our country facing similar sort of problems? Are there languages which have become extinct? For example, there is a tribe in Andaman and Nicobar Islands called the Jarva tribe, who are absolutely isolated. They have isolated. Even the Indian government and the army gives them a lot of protection. Otherwise, the tourists were trying to trouble them, and they still remain nude. They live in absolutely natural habitat. So to protect them, but it has also been seen, because they don't get medical facility or care, that their population is shrinking. So you will be able to bring in. So not only are you a language learner, you are a language learner, you're going to use that language to speak, but you have actually tried understanding on the similarities and differences in both the cultures. Also, encourage the young learners to experiment with a variety of skills that's going to equip them to continue to be actively engaged in learning after accomplishing or after the course is finished. If I have law faculty members also here, I think it's a good, interesting thing to understand what does the UN have to say about the indigenous rights, any changes in their policies, etc. So do that, and also prepare them that for success during their tertiary education and beyond. Now, even with this knowledge, a student wants to do an MBA or wants to work in a global scenario, this pre-knowledge for him is extremely useful. What is the objective of any course that you create? You create a course on astrophysics, law, economics, Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, anything. There has to be an international mindedness that has to be embedded here, wherein which in languages we always do. So language teachers who are here, please ensure that the curriculum that you're creating, there is an international mindedness, there is an exchange of culture and ideas, there are issues of global significance that needs to be understood. Also, enabling the students to communicate in the language It's not only that they are able to write an email or they are able to write 10 sentences. Are they able to create a small poster? Can they create a small ad? Can they make a brochure? Can they write a blog? So if you expose them, that is another way of understanding, doing a peekaboo into the culture of that country. Because the way we publish blog in India is definitely different from the way a blog is published in Korea. Yeah, because of the language, the culture, the acceptance, the non-acceptance, understanding the media rules, etc. Through different kind of social interaction, inviting probably guest speakers who are working in that domain, ask them to come interact with them, let it be an interesting session with your students, and let them ask a couple of things to understand and eradicate some of the stereotypes. The relationship between languages and culture, awareness, why are they understanding, why are in relation with other areas of knowledge, as in it could be, say, sociology, it could be maths, it could be anything. And there has to be a process of inquiry with opportunities which allows them to be intellectually engaged. Please, I'm repeating these two words: intellectually engage, critical thinking, creative thinking. These are some of the keys of the modern learning. And they should be using this language. So suppose a student wants to use this language to create a small blog or create a small iMovie with some kind of captions. Please encourage them to do that. When you do that, that is a very different way from the standpoint of a faculty to see whether the student is really learning or not. And curiosity, creativity, and lifelong enjoyment. I mean, I think half of the problem or half of the attrition in the world happens is because very soon we just give up, and we sometimes a lot like, no, it doesn't interest me anymore. So how do you create that interest, hooking them on to what you are teaching with them? Now, what I've done is I have taken a simple lesson plan over here to show you that what are am I going to do in a particular week. So my bigger topic is identity. If somebody is a beginner to a language course, will do identity even at a higher level or at a advanced level of the languages. Yes, the definition of identity will change. What will the student do in that first week? He's going to introduce himself. He's going to be able to understand and answer to some basic questions like what's your name, what's your age, where are you from, what's your profession, where do you live, etc. And the formative assessment in the class I can use by telling them to create an identity card in Spanish for themselves. One, they will understand how does a Spanish identity card look like, because Spanish people, Spain, even Latin America, most of the European countries, they have actually two names. So they take the father's last name as well as the mother's last name. Now you can see I have taught a language and I have created a local as well as a global context. And the next one could be interview of a famous Spanish personality. So you can engage two students in your class who are going to be, so one could be Shakira and one could be an interviewer, or one could be any of the famous football players or any of the rock bands, etc. And they're interviewing each other. That's a formative assessment that you can do, because that's going to allow you as a faculty to understand whether the students have understood what you have been covering in the class. And when you get into that, you can also give them an individualized feedback. And my skills achieved, what is the skill that I have achieved for them? They'll be able to do a written expression. Can they write an essay? No. But yes, if they get a form at an airport to be filled where it's written name, date, etc., they will be able to identify and they will be able to fill that up. And an oral expression, again, in a limited situation. So this is a kind of a plan, a sample plan, which I always create for myself, for my students, has to be very objective oriented, What are we trying to? And here, when I talked about, having them having two names, etc., you can talk a little about the history. You can actually introduce names of famous Spanish speaking or German speaking or French speaking people or English speaking people, their name, and let them try to understand. So I have tried connecting them. Why is it that they have the two names? What is the origin of that? They are going to go and read back on that. So that's going to stimulate their thinking a little more. And when you give them that you have to interview another person, etc., they have to really come up and speak. And again, as we say, collusion or cheating, there the chances are very less. What's also important, what I want to talk about is there is a necessity to identify the objective of the assessment. Very often I see that people in there, when they give their syllabuses or etc., they write that chapter 1 to chapter 20 assessment. What? What are you going to assess? Listening, reading, writing, speaking. What do you mean? Can you give me a listening tape from anywhere across the world? Will you give me a reading? No, it has to be very specific. So clearly and effectively in a range of context for a variety of purpose. There will be a text, you have to specify, which has some intercultural context. There is some audience related. There is an expectation of fluency, and there is an expectation of the students to be able to present or organize their ideas. If, of course, nobody will begin by saying that I am these many years old and I live here. No, that's a wrong organization. So you are also teaching them how to organize themselves. Uh, yeah, extremely important. One size doesn't fit all. So how can I have the same assessment or same marking structure or same marking grades for all the different kind of skills? The way you assess a listening is different from the way you assess an oral, from the way you assess a speaking, to the way you assess a reading comprehension. So any language learning, if I'm coming back here in your subject also, you can look at dividing the skills. The skills are receptive, productive, and interactive. Receptive is, I'm asking you some questions. How do you judge? If I ask you, what's your name? And one student says, my name is XYZ. One student says, name XYZ. One student says, only the name. All the three of them are correct. So you need to explain the student. If you say my name is, this is the boundary grade where I can place you, rather, and when you say name is this, and just saying a name. All the three are correct. So that is something that you need to explain them when you are teaching the course, teaching the curriculum. Also, when I talk about receptive, there is an importance of you to making them listen to voices across the world. Different kind of voices in which Spanish or French or German or English is spoken. So a person from Scotland please speaking in English and a person from Australia speaking in English, their accents are going to be different. Expose them to those accents, because if I know, or if I say I know English, I should actually be able to connect myself, interact myself with anybody, any part of the world a person is speaking that language. So local and the global context. The productive, when I talk about the productive, is also I am able to describe a picture, I'm able to get into an interaction, I'm talking about my weekend plans, I'm talking about my career plans, I'm talking about my vacation plans. So my production, and is it a monosyllabic wherein you are questioning me and I am answering, or is it sounding more of an interactive where I am also making an individual what I would say interference in the communication. I am also able to connect some of my ideas. And when I talk about the interactive part, there is a necessity where students and you are getting into engaging in a conversation. It shouldn't be that I am in a rush to get over. The student also shouldn't feel that, oh, these are the only 10 questions. There has to be a mix of expected and unexpected questions, because our life is not scripted. So why should an oral examination be scripted? Now, what we need to understand is the need to have a transparent evaluation. Otherwise, what happens is at the end of the 2-year course or 1-year course, the student comes back and says, but why did you give me a 30 on 80? Now justify. But if the evaluation criteria, the rubric, the scale, the boundary, these are typical uh, pedagogic jargons that I'm using, is clear with them, the student will understand what is expected out of him. So let us look at one of the evaluation, let me just put it on. Yeah. So here what we are trying to look at is that we are looking at, if I give them, say, an email writing, or if I give them a blog or a brochure or even a movie critic writing, and if I want to analyze them, you need to have 3 different angles from where you should be looking at a student's achievements or the guidance. One has to be exclusively from the language standpoint. If you are acquiring it as a language, for example, if you're giving him or her to write a movie review for a magazine and the student uses an informal tone, yes, there is a problem, because the expected tone or the norm in the society is more to be formal. So you are going to see, if a student is able to manage some words, some grammatical structures, you can see there I have put a rubric across here. So the language command is limited, then he gets a 1 to 2. If the command of the language is generally effective, he's managed, some spelling errors are there, he is on a scale of 3 to 4. And when you see that he is mostly accurate, please understand, new language learners are bound to make mistakes even if they are learning it for 1 year or 2 years with some basic range. You can put them into a grade criteria of 5 to 6. Now that this is where the role of teachers, moderators, examiners comes in, wherein you sit and look at how are you going to moderate people in the same range, what kind of marks, so that there is no discrepancy, there is no inequality when you are marking them. And how does the accuracy of the language contribute to effective communication? I have been asked to write a letter to the head of the faculty or head of studies, and I am using an informal language, paragraphs have not changed. Am I meeting the target from the language perspective? No, I'm not really meeting. Maybe my message has been communicated, but from the language standpoint, probably I will get into a category of a 1 or 2 or maybe a 3. So this is a kind of a rubric which you can look at while explaining it to your students. When you are evaluating a written task, also the message, which means has the candidate successfully organized the idea for the successful delivery of the message. I want to write a letter to the head of studies asking for a 4 days leave. Can I directly send an email? I need 4 days leave. I need to greet that person. Am I going to ask that person, how are you? How was your weekend? Certainly not. What I'm going to, I will introduce who am I. I am from this year's PGP course. My name is this is my this, and this is where I would be unavailable. I would join. There is a proper salutation and you are ending. Then you know the student can be given a 5 to 6 or between a 1 to 2. So if this clarity chart is there at the beginning, when you're discussing with your students are also going to be mentally prepared. And on these lines, you can constantly do regular checks and balances, assessments for the students. What is this conceptual understanding? As I said, if I have to write an email and I write it in a blog format, will I get some marks? Certainly not. Because it's important to understand the context, the purpose, and the audience of the task. Who's the audience? Who's the targeted audience? Young students of, so suppose, Amity is organizing a freshers welcome. So of course, can that be in form of an essay or an article? No, it has to be in form of a poster. Will it have long sentences or will it just mention that what time, where, dress code, uh, contact details, ticket prices? So very objective. So students need to understand different text type. And when I talk about text type, it is not only limited to writing in a language, it is across every different subjects. Every teacher who's there on this forum, every faculty who's there on this forum, please remember, according to the Modern Pedagogic Review, it says that we all are actually also language teachers, because each and every one of us subject area or domain area has a uniqueness of the language. So we need to be very, very careful. Coming back, if I'm looking at understanding any of the oral task wherein, I want to judge an oral of a student, what do? I have to also give similar kind of a rubric to the student. What do I expect? Do I expect complete fluency? If somebody is in mid fluency, will I put him a 0? No. I need to explain it to that a student whose vocabulary is appropriate but is making some grammatical errors but is able to maintain an interaction, he will go into a different grade than a student who is able to give only when you ask a question is giving you monosyllabic answers, or one or two structural answers. So these are some of the areas. I mean, here I am looking at if the student is engaging himself. If you give typically in language examinations, we give them across photographs, visual stimulus taken from the culture, where the student has to describe the culture. So in that case, we are going to look at this particular kind of a thing. So I don't know, has anybody seen this app called Picker Wheel? Anybody? Anybody has come across Picker Wheel? Okay, Picker Wheel is an interesting app. So I will show you what all you need to do is to go to the Picker Wheel, and suppose you have 50 students in your class or 40 students in your class. All you need to do is enter their name. And here what I have done is I have done a similar kind of a thing. I have entered it's again a Google app. To engage your class, you can keep that as an ice-breaking activity in your class. So suppose it's opening. Yeah, so I have names of these students and I want to do a conversation. All I need to do is click on this spin. When it spins, it starts moving. Yeah, it will spin and it will show the name of one student. And when it spins, you are able to figure out which student do you want to give a chance to speak. So if I say Hans, it will start spinning and it stops at one name. So the app is called Picker Wheel. Yeah, see, can you see it starts moving? This is a good app to keep alertness in the class. I use this often. And on whosoever name. So Hans is the student who is selected, and I can pose my question to Hans. He has to answer. So this keeps alertness in the mind of the students, and you can also check to see whether everybody in your class is participating or not. So after say doing a 10 minutes of pre-lesson after Mentimeter or something, you can use a Picker Wheel to do your previous analysis. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of other tools, but you can look at how you will organize all of them. Yeah. I think I will just a second. I hope what happened? Yeah. I hope if there is a question, Ms. Deepika, is any question which you want me to handle right now?
As of now, there isn't any question in the chat box, ma'am. If I have, I'll read it.
Surely. I just wanted to take a break and show everybody. So Picker Wheel is another app. Yeah, Deepika, tell me.
There is one question from Jaya, ma'am.
Yeah.
Would you please throw more light on the transparent evaluation when there is a heterogeneous classroom?
Okay. Let me just go back on to where I was and I will come back, Jaji, on your question. So when I talk about when I talk about a classroom, with students of different kinds of needs. It means you will have to constantly do different kind of assessments. So, typically if it's a language class, you will keep some time for a written, some time for a speaking, some time for a listening, and sometimes for a reading or a writing. What you can also do is, what I personally do is, I have a portfolio created for each of my student, wherein there's a code which is given to those students using the Google, and we also have different kind of apps which we learning management system which we use. I know Amity uses Amazon. What you can do is, from the portfolios you will be able to understand the strengths and the weaknesses of each of those students. You can either take them on an extra kind of a class, or you can accordingly brush the skills where you feel they need more brushing. But to do that, you need to have a variety of different kind of assessments. Yeah, Deepika, if it's okay with Ms. Jaya, then I can move on and I can come back again with more questions if they are looking at. Okay. So let us understand what is a good plan which will work 100%. Very difficult to answer. Yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and you have to be opened up to look at making changes at the end of the moment. So it's inquiry and purpose. Transferring of goals, you need to have a connection between your first unit. Now you remember I was talking about my first unit where I wanted to talk about teaching them identities, my name, where I live, what's my phone number. Can I after that immediately start talking about global issues? Certainly not. I probably will have to next class talk to them about their family. Then probably I will talk to them about their home. I will talk to them about their university. I will talk to them about their friends. I will talk to them about their hobbies. I will talk to them about activities, outdoor activities they like to do. I would like to probably talk to them about the kind of food they appreciate. And then probably I would like to talk to them about the family, the vacation that you took. So you can see over there the student is able to actually connect from the past till the present. So it has to be constantly, carefully planned, reviewed periodically. Has to be periodically reviewed. Otherwise, what happens is you might proceed, student might not understand, or if due to lack of connection, there is a complete breakdown in the teaching. So skills have to be there. Real life application. I said no, that you are able to interview, you are able to create an identity card, you are able to fill up a form. That's real life. ICT. What are the international mindedness concepts that are required? Oh yeah, in people over there, they have two names. Activating background knowledge. So from the first unit to the second unit, or the second chapter, or the second big lesson, what is the connection of what we learned in the past with today? Critical thinking, metacognition, and prior knowledge, pedagogical knowledge, the learning process. This is a very good journal which teachers use. It's called the learning process, where you're documenting, you're doing a reflective teaching, that what worked well, what didn't work well. And if things don't work well, it doesn't mean that we are at fault. It's the situation which is not at fault, and the kind of differentiation that you are going to do. Extremely important. What do I want to assess? As I was telling you, what do I want my students to learn? If you keep your goals to be smaller, short terms, it is easier than keeping a long term. Periodic assessment, small assessments, done with a focus. What do you want? Maybe next time after teaching that first unit, I probably can give students identity card of 3-4 different Spanish speaking people, and I will ask them that when is their birthday, what is their nationality. If they're able to spot out that information from those cards, that means what I have taught in the first week, they have actually understood, they have got it to it. How will I and they know that they have met the learning intention? As I said, extremely clear, because when you're giving the plan clearly to them, they will know what is it that I am going to learn. And I'm going to show you one of the Canva app which I have used to define this one. What activities will help my students to meet the learning intention? Oh, an interview with Shakira probably would be very interesting for them. An interview even back to Mona Lisa probably would be very interesting to find out. So what is it that I want to assess and what should I assess? Because it totally depends on what I have taught. What I have not taught, I cannot assess. Where is the student currently? Where is the student's learning going to be? What do they need to get to go to there? And how will I as a facilitator and them as a student know what they have learned? So if you have these plans when you're meeting in your departments, meeting with your team experts, you have this plan on an online. The biggest difference I see in an online is that every moment, every minute has to be really objective. It has to be penned down. It has to be designed very well. We cannot keep an open-ended. So in a way, I would say our flexibility sometimes is a little gone. Okay. Now, assessment is done. What do I do to give a feedback? Effective feedback? Rather than saying 8 on 10, you need to improve upon your answer. I'll be totally lost. Give me, is it, or do I write the correct answers or do I share my mark scheme as we do? Or should I give a guidance? So you can use a couple of keywords: why, when, what, where. So these kind of, and I will show you one example wherein, I have tried doing that. Now this is an interesting app where I have tried recording my voice as a feedback. Okay, so this is an app I will show you. This is how I have used PDF to correct, putting different kind of asterisks with a comment, and I have added a voice note to it. This probably sometimes gets it to be more interesting. So let us look at this new tool which is called wookaru.com, wherein you have the flexibility to record your voice. So I will show you how we can record our voice here. Press the start button. Okay, dear Hans, your response was very interesting. You have very well identified it to be an email. But something which you need to look at is, whom are you writing that email to? What was your purpose? If that person needs to contact you back, how would that person do so? Secondly, do you think there is a need to change the paragraph to give the response to be more effective? And I have recorded this. I can save, and this is a link which I can just put on the student's PDF or anything which the student can listen back to my feedback. So if I go back, you will be able to hear. Yeah, it gets recorded. And the student is able to. So you just need to give that link to your student. I'm sorry because I'm with my headphones. That's why it's not recording. If I take my headphones off, it will record. So the app is called wookaru.com, and it works magic because a student can again and again listen and understand what is that focus of that tool. So you can do this. You can use voice note even at the beginning of the class to set expectations, instructions, etc. But while giving feedback, this works very, very well. Okay, I understand you all are using Amazon, but there is a tool called exam.net. And this is an artificial intelligence based software which exactly, I think, was born during the time of this pandemic, which also sends the teachers a report on students who are trying to cheat. So basically, when you open this app, you cannot go on to any other screen, because what will happen is your screen will get locked, and your teacher will ask you, why did you move to another screen, etc., and they have to write, and in the process the students lose out on their timing. So none of them want to do that. So let us go to exam.net, and I have created an exam. Please go to exam.net. I'll show you how it goes. Just follow my steps. This is the thing which is called exam.net. I will give you a student key and I'll show you what is the student key. So the key with which you need to go and enter over there is, you have to exactly enter the same way. Number 5, small e, 6, small b, capital B, and T. So can you please go on to that app? Can you open this examination with this code? Yeah, please open this examination. Yeah, have you all opened? Okay. Okay. Yeah. People have to get into this examination. The moment I see people getting into, their names will start popping up. If I see an unknown name over here from apart from the list of students, I will immediately identify that somebody is trying to cheat over here. Okay, please enter this code on this exam.net. Are you able to enter? Are you all able to enter? Okay, I think I have seen a question over here. Yeah, there's some. Yeah. Open it on Chrome. Don't open it on another system. Open it on Chrome. Yeah. I can see Vrushali. I can see Juhi. I can see Simran. Oh, great. Fantastic. There's an exam for you. You can try writing that exam. Yeah. See, I can see all these students have come in. So many of them are coming in. Fantastic. There's an exam. You can open the exam and try writing the answer. Okay. And you know why they are showing this red? Because they are locked out. Because they probably tried to do an escape button or anything. If you click on any of these, you actually will lose connection. So because we are on the test purpose, so I'm unlocking you. Otherwise, normally on an exam mode, we ask them to actually give an explanation. And then, there's an exam team which looks into it and people start doing it. Now, there are 2-3 different ways of conducting on this software. I don't know what is the way you all are using. What we do is we are still accepting pen and paper exam from the student. So the student has to log in on this one and say Microsoft Team or Zoom, so that we are able to see the writing desk of the student. And what we do is the students have to enter the examination hall 20 minutes prior to it when we do a search on their room. And during the examination, their cameras cannot get switched off. No argument, no nothing. We have an examination policy. It is marked as absent or a 0. So you can see there is an examination. You will be able to write that examination. Okay. There is also a chat functionality over here, wherein if I want to send a chat, so say, okay, I can see Nisha I have opened, Priyanka, I have unlocked you, Miss Sajida, I have unlocked you, Miss Snehal, I have unlocked you. You can, I'm unlocking you all. Yeah. Okay. So they have entered the exam and they can start doing. Mr. Bibin, I have unlocked you. Mr. God. Okay. There's a chat message for me. Somebody sending a message to me on chat. Yeah. And once you're on this software, you cannot fiddle around. Huh? So there's a message box from where I can start an exam and I can say, please start the exam. Please start the exam. Yeah. Yes. Mr. Arindam, yes. Hello, madam. Yes, yes, Mr. Arindam. So you will be, students actually communicate with their students only using this chat. They're not supposed to go over here and there. And once you start writing at the end, automatically it will guide you to show you and tell you that the exam is over. And you can put a timer to this examination, wherein the examination say ends in 35 minutes or 45 minutes. Automatically, as a person, as an examiner over here, I have the right to close the examination. And the moment I close the examination, student will see I have a button over here as an admin button which says end of the exam. I click on this and the examination will end. I have put one small question. And if you look at my question, it's very difficult to cheat because it is from the personal example. And after all the examinations are done, I can download them in a PDF. It can be downloaded as an individual PDF. And see, I am monitoring. I can monitor it. So anybody wants to cheat or something, this I will help me understand. And there is a report which comes that XYZ was cheating in the exam, or his or her movements were not, because this is AI enabled website. So this is this is a company based in Europe which does it, and most of the places in the world have started using this as an examination. Creating an exam on this is very easy, and you can set level of priority for the students. So when as a teacher you are creating it with high mode, then they really cannot open on any other browser, only on Chrome, or if they are using Mac, they will use it only on their Safari browser. So you can limit the browsers on which the students can actually open the examination. So yeah, hello madam, yes. Can it be used on mobile? No, only on PC. Only on PC, not on mobile, because that mobile of your student might just give it to Mr. X who will write the answers. Students have to sit here and do this exam. And I'll show you how to create a new examination. Okay, so if I get a new exam to be created for a student, it's very easy to do. All you need to do is, okay, there's a surveillance report coming in for me. Yeah, to create a new examination, all I need to do is the examination name. So I say Spanish. If you want a digital exam, no digital examination, that means you can just write the questions over there. If you want to use a PDF file, you can use a PDF over there. So they will give you an option wherein you will say this was the flyer, and I'm uploading the flyer over here of Amity. So it's getting uploaded. You have an option to auto mark questions also. Yeah. So I can do an auto mark question, or if you want students to write and them to give all these filling in up. Now, something interesting which comes over here is you can also ask them to write in hand, scan with a mobile phone and send it to you. It also gives you options like if you're doing maths. So it will actually allow you, or it will give you, the calculators, tools, etc. In case of languages, we have disabled. So no spell check will work. And this is the kind of a browser. So today I allowed any browser because I knew people could be logging in. Otherwise, high security mode, high security mode. So when you have this high security mode settings, people will not be able to cheat. Their exams will be closed. And in an examination, what we typically allow is, suppose it's a 1 hour examination, only one lockout allowed. Beyond that, there is a report which will come, which will tell me that the student was locked out thrice or 4 times. So then we take a decision, we take a call whether we are going to accept that work from that student or not. So the exam is open and I'm able to see what students are writing. Yeah. If you're getting locked out, don't worry. I'm trying to unlock you all in. Oh, so many of them are unlocked. Locked. Okay, so I can unlock it, and there is something called the exam lost focus. Can you see? So this helps me understand. Once everything is done, all I need to do is end this exam for all the students and submit. So after the exam is ended, I can press the master button. From there, and automatically all the examinations will close. And what I need to do from here is just close this examination. So nobody has an access to this code anymore and your examination is safe. So nobody can come back and tell you that within the stipulated time, if I didn't submit, I am sorry, we don't accept the examination. And you can time up. So what we do is if it's a 1 hour examination, we say 5 minutes to submit the examination. Not beyond that. Beyond that, we just close it at our end because they need to have a stable internet connection. Okay. Now, let us look at, I was telling you about creation of posters. Now, what I've done is I've used an app called Canva. I'm sure many of you are using your posters and everything are coming through Canva. What will I learn if the student wants to know? So I said identity, correlation between language and identity. You will be able to express age, nationality, telephone number, email, and address. And I have given a picture of an identity card. So the student is also equally, he's aware of what is he going to learn, and he is not just going to walk into. You can also use Canva, like what I have done over here is by giving them a picture, because if I'm going to talk about, and I have put a trivia over here saying, did you know Spanish family uses two names? You can, using Canva, there's an app called Canva, where it's again a Google application, canva.com. You can just use your Gmail ID to log on to it, and you can have a variety of formats and templates and everything for which you can create designs. Nth number of designs you can create, which you can show to your students. You can put a poster at the beginning of the class on the learning management system, which will help students to understand where they are. So here, if I look at, you can see that I have created one poster on Canva, which I have made it into a video format. Yeah, you can add music to it also. If you wish, you can add music to it also. There are different kind of things. So this is a video link which you can post on the learning management system for students to see what they are going to learn. They'll be more prepared on what they are going to learn. I think it's taking a little time. Okay, let it come back. Yeah, it's a basically what I've done is I've put the same thing but in form of a video. I've put these two things in form of a video. Yeah. Yeah. So clears the objective of the student, what they are going to learn. Okay, it's taking time. If once it opens up, I'm probably going to show it to you. This is another very interesting app that I use for my students to give instructions. It's called Loom. It's called Loom Video. Yeah, wherein you can actually, giving the task, you can record your own voice. You can record your voice, you can add images or etc. So if I click on it, I'll show you what I have done. And the students exactly know what is expected out of them, and they don't come back and ask you that, well, I didn't understand what you wanted me to do over there. Yeah, I think it's loading. Yeah. I have recorded my own voice. It's called loom.com. You can experiment on that. Okay. So what I did is the photograph is here. The student can record a reply on this and send it to you. And this record a reply could be their assignment, actually them describing the photograph. Or if you have asked them to reflect on a particular kind of a text, maybe doing a comparative literature, or maybe doing two global important events, etc. So you can use, this is a video called loom.com. It's extremely easy, another Google app. All you need to do is use your Gmail ID to log in, and there are tons and tons of formats which can be used. So the free version has limitations, but yes, I think you can trim the video, you can put a thumbnail, you can put a video preferences, you can keep creating. We have suddenly overnight, all of us have become uh, Pablo Picassos. So you can actually fidget around with this website to see what are the, but definitely, this brings in a lot of interest in your students when they are learning through this. So this is an assignment which I have given, and I have done an audio recording of this assignment. This is another assignment which a student has done, and they've used this app called Visme. Visme is also a wonderful app on which you can actually create posters. You can see one assignment done by a student uh, called Jack Jonas, and what he has done is he's talked about industrial revolution. Yeah, and he has actually talked about the Britishers discovered the coal, and what kind of an assignment can you use it? You can use it for, if you want to say milestone events, or if you want to reflect on, so then you can actually have these kind of assignments also done by students. So this was a student called Jack Jonas from Language Acquisition who finished this assignment using, this is another app called visme.com. It's called visme.co. Yeah, again a Google app wherein you can use various different kind of things. You can log in using your Gmail ID, and you can create beautiful moments using voice notes. You can use video notes, and they also have a suggested lot of templates that you can use to integrate in your class. You can give this as a group assignment also for students. There's a dashboard which exactly shows you what are the kind of assignments that can be done. Yeah. Coming back onto our next one is I have the next kind of an assignment where I have used a Prezi. And I am sorry if because of the time constraint if I am going, but uh, you can send me an email, or if you wish to have any questions, then in the last 15 minutes we can look at answering these kind of questions. So here, if I've seen Visme, I'm going to be looking at now the next app, which is called Prezi. Yeah. So Prezi is another one wherein uh, yeah, so you have as a teacher, you have laid down the criteria of the student, the rubric of the student, and the student works on it. Prezi is a very common app. Earlier we used to use PowerPoint, but Prezi is another great way to show charts, etc. And also when you're doing mind mapping, Prezi works pretty well to create. Okay. Give me 2 minutes. It's logging in. Yeah. So this is the student who's called Jack Jonas, who has again done this work. Yeah. So when I click on this, it takes me to different places to understand. It can be made in a video format. It can be made in, so the student can actually justify and is doing actually a real work using Prezi. So these are also great ways to ask students to make these kind of assignments, and then when they are doing a presentation in the class, you can also ask a couple of questions to them so that they know. So the student has done an idea, and student has constantly kept showing how he is doing on this assignment. Can you see it? It keeps linking. So it's very interesting to use these kind of tools. You as a teacher can also create a Prezi to, use. It is not necessary that you have to use all the tools in any unit of yours, but you can choose a blending of different kind of assignments. So the app is called Prezi.com. Very easy. All these apps are self-help apps which can be used to teach the students, and also the students can ask looking at you. Asking you to do some of them. Okay. Uh, Google Sites, extremely easy, where students are trying to, do a presentation. This is a good way of looking at an assessment from a student. And here the student has done an assignment using the difference between Germany and Spain. So you can see, he's able to do, and based on this presentation, if it follows an interaction with you, you will actually be able to understand whether the student has been able to do it or not. And as I said, that if you have to specify the rubric, what do you want, what is the expectation of this task, then it becomes all the more easier. You can see this child, the student has done this, looking at different kind of things that is required, and indicator, status indicator, etc., comparing two country. And what is important is the doing the citation. So the student has used citations, because so this is something which needs to be taught in this new world, that anything that is available on internet, you can't just copy and post it. Copy paste, cut, copy paste doesn't work. There has to be an authentic place from where the information is taken. So the student has taken it from National Geographic, has taken it from Germany Travel Guide, and Google Site is a very, very easy app which can be done. It is there on Google. All you need to do is to go here. You will see these dots over here, and this is where you have the Google site. Yeah, this account of mine doesn't have that, but this is where you will have a Google site. You also must be using Jamboard, which works very well as a writing board. So you can write Jamboard on the Jamboard and students are able to see. So this was one more assignment which I found interesting to be shared with all of you. Then we have another one which is called Padlet. Very good to ignite critical thinking in the class. You just have to, what you have to do is, you have to just put a question over here. And if I share this link with all of you, let me put this link on all of you. Let me just, and there is a question. You have to log on to this Padlet and you have to start typing the message on this. Wait a minute. Let me just share it on the chat with all of you. Okay, just a second. Just join this Padlet link. And this is for you to provocate some thoughts in your class with the students. Yeah, you will be able to use them. And so as a teacher, I have left a question, and Jack Jonas has told me, my question was, what is the correlation between language and identity? And the moment you write one, even yours get posted. So it's a wall created. And this is an amazing way to collaborate, to share, to refer learning. You have to create a board and in which you have to write your message over here. Can you type some messages? It would be a nice thing to look at. Yes, hi, hello. So this boy, Jack Jonas, is writing that is a fundamental aspect of cultural identity. Yes, I can see everybody writing. Your complete class is engaged. You can check. Informal assessments have to go. Language is influenced by, yes. Okay, hello, hi, yes. Okay, interesting. Okay, creates identity. Language is influence. Wonderful. Okay, wonderful session. Thank you so much. Thank you for the presentation, ma'am. Thank you. That's interesting. So this is Ola Ketal, and can you see how many your whole class is engaged? Yeah, one rule that I keep for my class is 100% cameras have to be on. No camera on, no attendance marked. And I never tell them when am I taking that attendance. So I take it at any point of time. Language, cultural. Yes, you can add an image to it. It's a Google app. You can add an image to it. Yes. Fantastic. Amazing. Amazing. And what you can do is you can actually save it, download it, and put it on your learning management system, because each student is learning from each other. This could be at the end of the language. It could be at the middle when you are just trying to test the water, whether they have understood it or not, anytime. Yeah. So this is one interesting app that you can use. Fantastic, fantastic. I'm loving it. I'm loving to see everything here. Keep up this. This is actually a very good way, in which we teachers can also co-share things with what worked well with me maybe can be used by another teacher and vice versa. Yeah. Low language, no identity. Very true. Yes. 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 Mr. Basu, very good. Yes. Perfect. Excelente. Muy bien. Yeah. And this is another one I personally like using. I like all of them to be used. It's called Plickers, and you have something called a Plicker card. So, okay, so these are Plicker cards which you can create. Actually, if you are suppose 6 teachers teaching English, each one of you, if you pick up one tool to create, you will have so many resources to be created now. And these are very good to do class assessments, seeing the engagement of students, because they are, Kahoot is there. Yes, Kahoot is also there, but let's go to something different. It's called a Plicker card. It's called plickers.com, and I was wanting to do a quiz. So if I do a quiz, yeah, and who is Frida Kahlo? You can set this quiz way before. It's called plickers.com. You can create a quiz. Your students will log in, so you'll be able to see these names, and students suppose have clicked on politician or something. Reveal the correct answer. So it says Frida Kahlo is a Mexican artist, and then you can elaborate on that particular part. So it's a live demo class which is going on, and students can truly get benefited. Who is Frida Kahlo? And show the graph. If students have entered, they will be able to show you. And you can have different sets of questions after questions, which will help you also, understand them as to. This was the second question. So identify the painting. So you can shuffle the choices. You can do multiple things. So this is Frida Kahlo's very famous painting, which is called the Dos Fridas. Yeah. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So and I have confused them by saying, is it Guernica? Is it Mona Lisa? Is it the elephants, which is also a very famous painting, and the two Fridas. So the Dos Fridas. So students are, and from here you can actually go back talking about the Mexican Revolution. You can you can teach them the biography of Frida Kahlo. You can use past tense to teach that. So similarly, in your subjects, you can absolutely use plickers.com to create these kind of interesting quizzes and talks with your students. Okay, and oh, how did I forget one very interesting app? Where is that? My Ginelli. I use one more. Yes, Ginelli. Ginelli is another one wherein you can create pre-quiz. You can set your pre-quiz on Genially. This is another app. You have to create an account. Free version gives you variety of things. You have to keep deleting and adding, then it works very well. Okay, so before I start a language class, or so I'll show you this one. This is another very, very good app to yeah, so you can change the formats of these. Yeah, so I've created Genially. It's called genial.ly. Yeah, so how much do you know on Spain? I've started a quiz. And which continent is Spain in? Europe, if I say. So it will put a tick, correct? You can put a next question. And you can keep moving on to different kind of a questions. Next. Yeah, there are 5 questions which a student will have to answer. Yeah, so different kind of a question. How much do you know about Spain? There are true and false games over here. There are mazes. So depending on the kind of a question that you are trying to do with your students, you should be able to use variety of other kind of things. So if it says, so for example, if you have to reset and it clicks Africa, it will show a cross or something like that. Or it might, the result will say, you need to learn, you can do better, it's good, bullseye, awesome. So you can fix these rubrics also with this app called Genially. This is very good, and I personally like using this one too much in my classes because it engages students and you can do it at any point of time with them. And with that, I come to an end to my presentation. Uh, and my last couple of minutes, I want to leave asking or interacting with you all with all the possible questions that you have with me. Remember, technology will not replace us, but technology in our hands will certainly make wonders and conquer the world. We are the architects of the new world which is emerging. We can do it. We are also learning what we taught till so many years. It is not that it has gone in waste. It's just that the cover, the learning pattern and everything is going interesting, challenging. If you want to read more, you can read about Howard Gardner, who's talked about the theory of multiple intelligence. What kind of different intelligence does students have in our classes? Yep. Okay.
If you have any questions, you can post it in our chat
Please
box.
post all the questions.
You can also raise your hand and we'll allow you to unmute yourself and ask the question.
Our chat box is only flooded with the compliments that you are getting.
Thank you, all of you. No, discover more. You know, every day I keep discovering. No, these apps are not paid. These apps are not paid. The free versions are not paid. What you have to do is probably you'll have limited, like you can use only 3 Padlet. You can delete and create one more. You can edit and create one more. MCQs, yes, you can use for MCQs. Quizo is there. You can also use exam.net where you can shuffle questions. Plickr is also there where you can shuffle questions for MCQs. But you know, MCQs becomes a very challenging because there is a possibility of copying. So shuffling questions even on Google works very well. But if you are giving 50 questions for 1 hour, traditionally put 50 questions for 40 minutes. Then, you know, then that cheating thing comes to an end. People don't get so much of time. Okay, how do you share with this? When using these apps, you have to screen share and show these exercises. You can put, they all come with a share link. You can share that with your students. They will be able to access on Padlet. The way I shared my link, you can share it with your students. Okay.
Bipin is asking, ma'am, can we plan the evaluation for the future purpose also?
Yes, Yes, you can plan evaluation question papers. Exam.net that ways is a very safe thing. You can plan your assessments and keep them, and you have to keep the exam locked. And you can absolutely just go and open the exam once the students have entered. So ensure they are entering the session 10 minutes prior, because suppose I have entered, XY has not entered, they can then there could be a possibility of cheating. So wait for them to do that. Yeah, poster presentation, Mr. Funny, you can use Visme, you can use Canva, both work very well. Effectively teach literature, well, you can use Visme to create a poster. You can use a Padlet to teach literature. You can put some meaningful questions over there. You can ask them to do a presentation on the on Shakespearean style, or say Bernarda Alba's style of women in the 19th century or something like that. Yes, you can use that. Absolutely. Yeah. Many students use Smart. Yeah, students also have a lot of apps to use. Group activities, you can use Padlet, works very well. Kahoot works very well for group activities. You can create different kind of breakout session rooms, and where you give a specific. You can also use Vukaru. You can use Genially for them to record. Yes, you can use all of them. Testimos, yes, Testimos is also good. See, descriptive tests, whenever you are doing, please ensure that the plagiarism check software is embedded. All assessments should come through plagiarism check. Then you know that no cheating has happened. If they are copying from somewhere else, you will not know. Yes, you can do a live test. Can we have a live test with the students like we have done? Yes, with Padlet. Yes, you can. Probably your weightage for that assignment would be a little less, but yes, why not? Google mind mapping. Well, Prezi is more interesting. It appeals more to the students. You know, Google Maps. Google also has mind mapping tools. Plagiarism. It's called Turnitin. That app is called. I'll just write it over here. Turn it in. Turnitin.com. You have to take a license for that. And for referencing, EasyBib. So librarians typically have these, and where you can refer. So, you know, it comes in that MLA8 format. That's also a very important part in this online, to teaching them to do reference. If they're going, for example, you can say Wikipedia is not an accepted one. Wikipedia Quora is for you. For conducting debate, you can do a pre-recording of the session. You can use any of these tools to do even a debate in the class. Loom, you can use Loom, the one wherein I gave my instructions. Loom is very good. So, you know, the students can have their presentations ready. Please ensure that they are only putting a couple of key points in their presentation, and they are recording their voice. Yeah. Turnitin is a paid one. Yes, but Turnitin is the most authentic one. It is accepted across the world. Yeah. Any more? Do you have any web resource for instant on or story to be connected? Mr. Bibin, I didn't get your question. If you could tell me, for instance, examples or story to be connected with our content, ma'am. Are you? I'm not getting the question. What is it that you mean to say? Collusion issues? Yes, collusion issues happen. I'm an expert in catching collusions at work, and whenever there is a collusion, I just make them. I change the paper. I call them on an online environment and ask them to redo a paper. You can also, another way of doing what I do is, after every written I put a 10 minutes 15 minutes of viva voce, just to check. See, students who are regular will be regularly participating also in your classes, but the ones who are not doing so, you know that there is something. Yeah, we all have eagle's eyes. Yeah. Any more questions?
So I guess we have enough questions now. And if you have any more questions, we'll share Rini ma'am's email ID with you, where you can ask her, you can email her your questions. So hereby, gracias, Senora. It is our honor to have you as a speaker. At the end of your session, we are taking so many ICT tools with us, not only to evaluate students, but to evaluate their true potential, which is very much essential during this pandemic, when students are just promoted to next grade without any assessment. We hope to host you again at our campus. Thank you once again. I would also like to thank our participants for their questions and their active participation. Let me end by quoting Rini ma'am herself. Technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of great teachers is a transformation. Thank you, and have a great day ahead. Over to you, Susan ma'am.
I'm speechless. Can you hear? I was just listing your Mentimeter, old way replacing new, normal, how to go global, cross-cultural, Picoville, Canva, Loom, Padlet, Flickr, Gemini. Notion of knowledge you've given us that is but evident from the compliments and the comments that is in the chat box. They don't have any questions. That means you've so neatly covered everything. So it was really, ma'am, I don't know where to start myself. It was such a beautiful, enriching, really blessed session that we had. As Deepika said, we wish and hope that we rope in you more often. Please oblige to our request. It's wonderful to hear from you, and I'm sure the participants have benefited immensely this afternoon. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Dear participants, we meet tomorrow at the same time at 10 o'clock with yet another display of knowledge domain as we just witnessed. So please stay with us and tomorrow we rejoin at 10. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Sign off for today.
Rini ma'am,
Yes.
as HOI, I really wanted to thank you, because whenever we call you, you are there for us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure for me, and we are so used to seeing each other face to face, but I don't know when this
Yes.
new normal is going to make all of us meet. But no,
We
anytime I'm
all
there.
hope that it will be soon. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so
One
much.
statement when we talked about you, when your name cropped up, this was one big statement that our Madam Manjari ma'am said.
Yes, I've met Manjari ma'am so many times.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Bye-bye.
Okay. Shall we wind up, Swati ma'am? Any announcements to be made? Swati ma'am?
No.
Okay. Okay. With that, we come to the end of this session. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you.